Are you ready to pay twice as much? Just for a loaf of bread, Walmart has quietly raised prices on a long list of essential groceries.
And everything is increasing, has been, and continue to goes up.
7 everyday staples Americans rely on are now spiking in price. And this isn't a supermarket gimmick. This is the direct fallout from President Trump's new tariff policy. The 35% tariff on food imports from Canada has officially taken effect. Canada's response cold and calculated. No negotiations. They pulled shipments from the US. They sold to Asia. They sold to Europe. And they left American consumers scrambling in the middle of a shortage. Walmart had no choice. Prices went up, and Americans started to panic. This is no longer a story about politicians. It's a story about every shopping cart, every receipt. This video will show you the 7 foods dragging America's entire supply chain into a crisis no one dares to name. Number 1. Bread, cereal, pasta. At the Walmart in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a plain white great value loaf that used to sell for $49 now rings up at $2.89. A small yellow sticker spells it out. Temporary price increase due to supply adjustments. Shoppers pause, pick it up, study it, then quietly set it back down. In the same aisle, a 2-pound bag of Barilla elbow macaroni that once cost $3.99 is now relabeled at $6.50. Meanwhile, a 12-ounce box of Cheerios has jumped from $4.20 to $7.39. No announcements, no on-sale signs, just new prices. And the stunned looks of loyal shoppers staring back. According to public data from the American Retail Association, Walmart is one of the largest U.S. importers of grain-based products from Canada. In 2024 alone, bread, cereal, and pasta from Canada accounted for over $6 billion in import value. When the Trump administration slapped on the 35% tariff, Canadian suppliers instantly redirected their contracts to European markets. Walmart, giant as it is, couldn't hold the line on prices as container after container sat stalled at the border under the new tax inspections. Midwestern Walmart bread aisles reported a 40% drop in inventory. Pre-tariff stockpiles ran dry within a week. Meanwhile, domestic distributors couldn't fill the gap. Not enough flour since most of it still comes from Canada. People don't come to Walmart for luxury items, they come for simple things. A loaf of sandwich bread, a pack of spaghetti, a box of cereal for the grandkids. Now they weigh every item, every price tag, every memory tied to the old numbers. Not everyone complains, but most quietly steer their carts toward the freezer aisle looking for substitutes. Instant noodles are cheaper. Domestic tortillas haven't gone up. Store-brand low-sugar cereal, even if the kids frown, suddenly makes it into the cart. The price isn't just in the food, it's in the habits being broken. And at Walmart, the store that has always stood for the working class. That shift is now visible on every price tag and every empty gap on the shelf. Number 2. Beef. The fresh meat counter at Walmart is now where the impact of the new tariff policy is most visible. Before August 1st, 80/20, ground beef typically sold for anywhere between $5.99 and $6.90 per pound, depending on the state and local supplier. Just 3 days after the 35% tariff on Canadian food imports took effect, the price of ground beef at many Walmart locations jumped to over $8 per pound. In some urban areas, prices have pushed past $8.50, accompanied by a small note price adjusted due to supply changes. Chuck roast tenderloins and short ribs have all risen between 12% and 18% compared to last month's average. The packaging labels haven't changed, but the product codes have. Some even carry a new line temporary source adjustment. Walmart meat counter staff quietly confirm this is due to interruptions in Canadian imports. Canada supplies roughly 30–35% of the beef imported into the US, mainly processed or boxed frozen beef. Walmart has been one of the biggest buyers leveraging bulk purchases to keep prices stable for budget-conscious shoppers. But under the new tariff, that steady stream can no longer keep prices where they used to be. Many Walmart stores are reporting temporary shortages of large family packs of beef. Certain frozen burger products made with imported beef have been relabeled with modest price hikes of $1–2 per package. Some items are simply not restocked in full, especially during weekend promotions. The beef price surge has triggered ripple effects in other aisles. Chicken, canned beans, and pre-made meals with ground meat are being moved into more prominent displays to ease demand. But when shoppers reach the self-checkout screens, the total still makes them pause longer than usual. There's no media frenzy, no stampede in the aisles, but the shift shows up clearly on every receipt. Spending on protein staples is climbing faster than any other grocery category, and beef is at the center of that trend. In Walmart's own late July internal report to analysts, the retailer admitted beef import costs had exceeded forecasts due to tariff disruptions and supply redirection to other markets. Canada is now ramping up beef exports to Japan, South Korea, and Europe, markets with no tariffs and better margins. This isn't just about today's prices. It's forcing U.S. grocery chains to rethink their entire sourcing strategy for Q4. For shoppers, none of this shows up in a headline. They just see the price of beef is different this week than last week. And for many, that's enough to signal something much bigger. The U.S. food supply chain is under a kind of strain it hasn't faced in over a decade. Number 3. Chocolate. Right by Walmart's checkout lanes is where shoppers usually pause for a few extra seconds. Not because they need anything, but out of habit. A Hershey's bar, a bag of M&Ms, a box of Reese's. Chocolate isn't a necessity, but it's the thing people toss into the cart without thinking twice. The first week of August, that section didn't look much different. The packaging was the same. The familiar browns, yellows, and reds still covered the racks. But the prices were different. Hershey's milk chocolate, standard bar, climbed from $1.15 to $1.79. A pack of Reese's jumped more than 20%. A 24-pack of mini Snickers hit $6.75. Tiny numbers, but just enough to make some shoppers pick up a bar, look at it, and put it back down. This change wasn't announced. No sign explained it. But in an internal supply chain update from Walmart's northern region, the reason was spelled out clearly: cocoa ingredients from Canada are no longer coming in at the old price. The reason is tariffs. Specifically, the 35% levy that just took effect. Few people realize that most American chocolate isn't made entirely from scratch. The base ingredients, cocoa butter syrup, cocoa mass, are still imported. And Canada is a critical processing and transit hub. In 2024 alone, the U.S. imported over $2 billion worth of chocolate and chocolate-related products from its northern neighbor. The new tariffs have shattered contracts. Canadian suppliers are now pushing shipments to Asia and Europe. The U.S. is no longer the priority, forcing domestic brands to scramble for other sources or quietly raise prices to protect margins. For consumers, the impact isn't as loud as with beef or bread. But you can see it in behavior. Some switch to non-chocolate candy. Some grab mini versions or cheaper generic brands. The big-name chocolates aren't disappearing, but they've been pushed down the list. Chocolate used to be the little reward at the end of the day, the small treat you slipped into your kid's pocket, the extra you didn't think twice about. Now, even that extra comes with hesitation. When the price of a single chocolate bar won't stay fixed, people start questioning even the things they never thought they'd have to. Walmart hasn't changed the displays. The layout is the same, but the gaps between product lines are widening, and those new price tags are impossible to ignore. In retail, there's a phrase, the silent signals of the market, and there's nothing more silent than a familiar product being left on the shelf, right at the easiest place to grab it. Chocolate in this moment proves one thing clearly: no product is untouchable. Number 4. Frozen potatoes. In Walmart's grocery aisles, frozen potatoes have always been one of those products no one really thinks about. People buy them on autopilot, grabbing the same bag as last time, rarely reading the label, often not even remembering the exact price. But in early August, that changed. A 5-pound bag of great value frozen French fries used to sell for $3.99. This week, same size, same packaging. The shelf tag reads $5.78. Arby's famous curly fries sold at Walmart up more than 30%. Other varieties, seasoned fries, waffle fries, all saw price hikes too. In the freezer section, gaps started showing up on the middle shelves. Some SKUs are completely gone. The replacements, lesser-known brands, plain packaging, and price tags $1–2 higher than average. The reason isn't complicated. In 2024, the U.S. imported nearly $1.5 billion worth of processed potatoes from Canada. Most of it pre-fried frozen potatoes that supply both retail chains and restaurants. When the 35% tariff kicked in, every shipping contract instantly came under pressure. Refrigerated containers hauling potatoes from Alberta and Manitoba started sitting longer at the border. Logistics costs nearly doubled. soon after Canadian suppliers redirected shipments to Asia where no tariffs exist. And demand is rising fast. The US lost its priority status. Walmart still has stock, but not the full range. Many stores are scrambling for domestic suppliers which are more expensive and simply don't have the capacity to fill the gap. Some products were quietly downsized. Less weight, same price. Others were just repriced. No announcement, no apology. The absence of frozen potatoes didn't trigger a media panic, but it scrambled routines. People who used to swing by for a few easy dinner bags now have to stop, compare, rethink. Every new potato bag means different frying times, different thawing instructions, and the big one: will the family like it? What was once a no-brainer convenience now feels like a risk. Those who stocked up for the week have to replan meals. Even fast food chains are reporting higher ingredient costs, with the French fry category taking the hardest margin hit. In the big supply chains, potatoes used to be cheap, easy to ship, easy to store. Now every pound carries higher logistics costs, bigger border risks, and less certainty in global contracts. Inside the supermarkets, Walmart is trying to keep things quiet. No warning signs, no explanations. But shoppers feel it, in the frustration of not finding the exact fries they always bought. And those little inconveniences, when disrupted, reveal what's really lost. Not just a bag of fries, but the stability that used to come with it. Number 5. Pork. Among animal proteins, pork has long been the middle ground. Affordable, versatile, and a staple in countless family meals. It's not as expensive as beef, not as bland as chicken. And for years, Walmart shoppers relied on pork. Bacon, sausages, pork shoulder, for steady prices and reliable supply. But in the first week of August, that stability began to crack. A 12-ounce pack of great value bacon that used to sell for $4.89 is now tagged at $6.49. Snack-style pork sticks, once a cheap grab-and-go bite, have jumped 10 or 15% across multiple brands. Over at the fresh meat section, trays of pork shoulder, baby back ribs, and tenderloin are showing price hikes of $2 to $3 per pound. Bulk cuts, the kind families buy for stews or parties, have all been repriced. The reason once again traces back to the trade rupture with Canada. Every year, the U.S. imports roughly $1.2 billion worth of pork and pork products from its northern neighbor. Most of it feeds budget-friendly markets and mass retailers like Walmart. When the 35% tariff hit, many Canadian suppliers stopped signing follow-up contracts with U.S. companies. Instead, they diverted shipments to Europe and East Asia, markets with steady demand and zero tariffs. With Canadian supply shrinking, Walmart had to lean harder on U.S. producers. But domestic pork costs 10 to 15% more to raise, process, and store. Factor in stricter handling and transport standards, and there was no way retail prices could stay where they were. Some products were quietly downsized. Less meat in the pack, same familiar packaging, same shelf tag. But at checkout, the total spend on pork jumped noticeably, especially for families who buy bulk or stock up for the month. Unlike beef or chicken, pork shows up everywhere, from pizza toppings and sandwiches to instant noodles and frozen entrees. So when pork prices rise, the ripple effect spreads fast, making consumers feel like everything just costs more even if they can't pinpoint why. Walmart hasn't put out any formal statement, no signs saying temporary or adjusted pricing, but regular shoppers can tell. Snack sausages have been pushed to less visible spots. Frozen pork products aren't being restocked as quickly, and discounts almost non-existent. What's striking is this pork used to be the fallback. When beef prices spiked, pork was the budget escape hatch. But now even that affordable fallback is slipping out of reach. A piece of the grocery bill that once saved money is now something families have to think twice about. This isn't a case of outright shortages. The supply chain is still functioning, but the heavy tariffs have stripped Canadian imports of their competitive edge, and that's slowly eroding pork's role as the stabilizer protein in America's food basket. Prices haven't hit crisis levels yet, but the speed of the increase and the way it's spilling into every related product shows something bigger. America's food chain can't absorb policy shocks the way it used to. Number 6, maple syrup. It's one of the smallest items on the shelf, a plastic bottle, a wood-toned label, a red cap. Maple syrup has never been on Walmart shoppers' must-buy list. It's not rice, not milk, not meat. But it shows up in breakfasts, on pancakes and waffles woven into the warm memory of lazy weekend mornings. When the 35% tariff on Canadian food imports took effect on August 1st, maple syrup was among the first products to lose its footing. The US simply doesn't produce maple syrup at scale. Nearly 90% of the supply comes from Quebec, where the climate and craft create the gold standard syrup. Until recently, Walmart sold a 16 Oz bottle of basic maple syrup for $3.89. By the first week of August, the same bottle was $5.09. Smaller glass bottles, the gift-worthy ones, have all but disappeared. At first, shoppers felt puzzled. Few realized the price bump came straight from tariff fallout. Some assumed it was a seasonal tweak or a currency shift. But when corn syrup blends and maple-flavored bottles appeared in their place, the difference became painfully obvious. Real maple syrup has a soft finish, lightly sweet, deep amber, silky. The substitute's harsher sweetness, paler color of corn, or caramel aftertaste. Shoppers immediately noticed. This wasn't what they'd been pouring on pancakes since they were kids. And this isn't just about price. It's about losing a tiny piece of the familiar. For many, maple syrup means family. It's the taste of shared breakfasts, a weekend ritual that stayed the same even as everything else got more expensive. Now even that ritual is quietly being pushed off the shelf. Canada didn't respond with loud statements. They simply redirected shipments to Japan, South Korea, Germany, France, places with zero tariffs and higher-paying buyers. Canadian producers used to prioritize the US market, close, stable, massive. But when that stopped being true, so did the priority. Walmart still sells syrup, but most of it is blends corn-based syrups or maple-style products. Pure maple syrup is now rare, and if you find it, it's tucked away with a steep price tag. When budgets tighten, maple syrup is among the first luxuries people cut. But that's exactly why its absence feels sharper. Not because people can't live without it, but because they assumed it was something that would never be touched. And that's when the truth hits. Nothing is too small to escape the ripple of a political decision. 7 ordinary items. Now symbols of a supply chain cracking at the edges. No explosions, no chaos. Just price tags changing, color shelves shuffled, and receipts running longer than they used to. What's happening isn't just an economic consequence. It's a reminder that every policy, every tariff, every signature on a bill leaves fingerprints on each meal, each grocery cart, each day we live. No one knows what's coming next. But when even the smallest, simplest things get pulled into the whirlpool of change, one truth becomes painfully clear. Stability is no longer something we can take for granted.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.